good day and a warm welcome to Voices of Change, the global podcast of the World's Leader Foundation. I'm Nivedita Chauhan, your host, and the UT Director of New Delhi for the Directorate of Legal Affairs and Advocacy. On the occasion of World Environment Day, we are proud to present a special episode dedicated to environmental leadership and sustainability. A conversation that resonates deeply with the urgent global need for collective action. It is a distinct honor to welcome a highly respected guest joining us from Sydney, Australia, Mr. Mark Rowland. So, without any further ado, let us begin this important dialogue. Mr. Rowland, welcome to Voices of Change. First of all, thank you for joining us, sir, and very good evening. We welcome everybody who would be witnessing this to this special World Environment Day 2025 virtual event organized by the World's Leader Foundation, led by our President, Ms. Momita. I am Nivedita Chauhan, your host for today's session on the theme Restoring Our Earth Every Day, Actions for a Greener Tomorrow. As we gather here today, we have a wonderful opportunity to reflect on our relationship with our planet and discuss practical steps we can all take to create a more sustainable future. I'm honored to introduce our distinguished guest speaker, Mr. Mark Rowland. Mr. Mark brings exceptional expertise as the Chief Collaboration Officer at Rossitier, a member of the Board of Directors at Green Our Planet, and an impact architect at Gaia Imperative. His extensive background in leadership across multiple industries and countries, including roles at Pricewaterhouse Corporation, Coal Smile Limited, and as Chief Executive Noodle at Wagama in Australia, gives him a unique perspective on sustainability challenges and solutions. Most importantly, what makes Mr. Mark's approach particularly valuable is his unique philosophy centered around what he calls happy minutes as a key performance indicator for life, that is maximizing happiness while helping others do the same. Mr. Mark, we're delighted to have you with us today. The virtual floor is all yours. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you for the warm welcome. And it's a pleasure to be here. And I think it's, particularly poignant given it is World Environment Day as we gather under a very critical banner of beating plastic pollution, which is this year's theme. And I was staggered when I just did some research earlier to find out that humanity produces over 430 million tons of plastic annually, and 11 million tons of that it leaks into our oceans every year, which is why I chose this backdrop for my video. So I think plastic pollution has definitely become a very big test of collective leadership, which is, I know, what your organization stands for. So hopefully with your visionary leaders, we can certainly drive some meaningful change. So my talk today is, entitled Restoring Our World, Everyday Actions for a Greener Tomorrow. So I would love to take you on a journey from the overwhelming scale of our environmental challenges to the incredible power that each one of us holds to create change in our world. So the title might sound a little bit daunting and a bit ambitious, but restoration doesn't always require grand gestures or massive budgets. Sometimes the most profound changes that we see in our world begin with the very small actions, repeated consistently and multiplied across communities. So I'm going to speak in four parts. Initially, I'm going to set the context of the challenge. Then I'll explain the power of small, consistent actions, share some real-life stories, and leave you with a call to action. So let's start with the reality check. We're facing what scientists call the twin crises of our time, and climate change together with biodiversity loss. These aren't separate challenges. They're deeply interconnected. Climate change is reshaping our world at an unprecedented pace. Global temperatures have risen by almost 1.3 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. So what we're seeing around the world now is, much more extreme weather, rising sea levels, shifting agricultural zones, which is impacting food security. But here's what's often overlooked. We talk about 1.5, we talk about 2 degrees with the Paris Agreement, but a fraction of a degree matters. the difference between, say, a 1.5 degree warming and a 1.7 degree warming could determine the survival of entire ecosystems or even countries in the Pacific, near where I am here in Sydney, Australia. So anything that we can do can make a difference. And biodiversity loss is equally staggering. We're experiencing what biologists call the sixth mass extinction, the first time it's been caused by an actual species on the planet. And species are disappearing at rates of 1,000 to 10,000 times faster than they really should be. And we've lost 68% of wildlife populations since 1970, which is the year that I was born. But here's a crucial connection. Healthy ecosystems can be our greatest ally against climate change. Forests absorb carbon dioxide, wetlands protect against flooding, coral reef shield us, and the coastlines from storms. So when we restore biodiversity, we are also fighting climate change, which is great. And here's the empowering truth. Restoration works. Nature is incredibly resilient when given the chance. Costa Rica recently increased its forest cover from 24% to 54% in just 30 years. And Rwanda has planted over 43 million trees since 2011. And the European Union has seen wildlife populations recovering as well. So now let's talk about something revolutionary, which I know is really close to your heart at WLF. Um,
Mr. Mark, sorry to interrupt you there. I just
sure.
have one question. Speaking of the climate change, what, according to you, in the world, what is the most urgent, persisting environmental issue we face today? And why do you think it demands immediate attention? What can be the repercussions, covert repercussions, which we cannot see, which normally people cannot analyze? What can be those immediate actions, and what is that issue?
Sure. So, I mean, it's a critical question. So, as I say, I think we're facing multiple interconnected crises. And, if we stick with the Environment Day, given it's World Environment Day, one of the most urgent issues is our nature crisis. So, the breakdown of our natural systems that I said, because these natural systems do support all life on Earth. And, we're losing these biodiversity rates. We're seeing planetary boundaries that keep Earth systems stable to being crossed. We're definitely reaching a tipping point. And for me, especially, I think it's heartbreaking because, as I said, nature can be our greatest ally against climate change. So these nature-based solutions can provide up to 35% of the climate mitigation that we need, while simultaneously addressing the biodiversity loss, improving water security, supporting livelihoods, etc. So I don't think this is just an environmental imperative. It also then dovetails into, economic and social issues as well. But that would be my answer.
Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Oh, you're
Uh,
welcome.
Speaking of community, what we as community can do, and can you state some examples where a little community initiative have made a significant difference in solving or making a difference in maybe mitigating these issues?
Yeah, I can give you one that's given its the focus is on plastic for World Environment Day. I'll give you one from Wales, very cool story. So this one is a story started in 2017, I think it was, when a local filmmaker in a small village in Wales called Gail Tudor. She was on a boat trip around Britain's coastline. And as she was on the boat trip, she realized that there was just so much plastic pollution. Everywhere the boat went, they were just, going through plastic. So when she got back to her small village, I think there was only a population of about 1,000 people. She started a Facebook page and started to rally some of her neighbors. And the community around her then committed to eliminating all single-use plastics. So all the businesses committed to removing plastic items, so straws in cafes. Shops stopped selling plastic bottles and started selling more glass bottles. Restaurants got rid of any plastic packaging. And she really inspired not only that community, but lots of other communities across Wales and beyond. So they organized regular beach cleanups, educating tourists, and amazingly, they became the very first plastic-free community in the world. So what I like about that story is it really just showed that one person can mobilize an entire community. And it demonstrates that, economic barriers, because a lot of the small business owners were worried that, there'd be additional cost involved in getting rid of plastics. But she really demonstrated that economic barriers can be overcome through collective commitment. And it proved that, even in very small communities, you can create global change.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you.
I've got some other ones if you'd like. I could share some other stories, but yeah,
Please, please go
that's one.
ahead. Go ahead. The floor is all yours, Mr. Mark, to
Well, yeah,
uh,
maybe I'll share a couple of other ones then, because
yes,
you
please
know, I think
enlighten us. We're all ears.
we 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 need as many positive stories as we can get. I think in this world. So I'll give you a couple of other stories. One of my favorite ones is from India. So I really love the story of the Million Tree Man. I'm sure maybe some of your listeners are familiar with that. But Jada Payeng from Assam in India started planting trees on a little sandbar near where he lived, and it was very barren. When he was just 16 years old, he started this, and every day for 40 odd years, he's planted seeds and saplings, and today, he's actually created a 1,300-acre forest that's home to tigers, elephants, and countless bird species. So that's, again, just another example of where one person, through their efforts, can actually, make a huge change. Um, Another one that I like from Africa, which is Rwanda's green transformation. So back in 1994, just after they had a pretty horrific social genocide, they made a very extraordinary choice in the country. They banned plastic bags. They mandated monthly community service days for environmental projects. They launched huge reforestation efforts. And today, that's one of the Rwanda is one of the cleanest countries in Africa, and their forest cover has increased 30% in just the last 20 years. So that's now an entire nation that's embracing this. And again, it all started through one very small community-led action. And I'll give you a final one from again from from my home country in England, a place called Todmorden in England, where residents there started growing food in public spaces. So they realized there's lots of areas in front of the public spaces that just had grass. So they decided that what they'd do instead was see if they could petition to grow edible gardens outside all these different public spaces. So it included like the police station, the railway station, in front of the doctor's surgery, and it became known as the Incredible Edible Movement. And it's now spread to over 100 communities worldwide, connecting people through food, so people can actually talk to each other while they're harvesting the food and eating the food. And it also is increasing biodiversity and is reducing carbon footprints. So that's another great story again of one small action can then lead this ripple effect, can actually really lead to a lot of action. And if I could, I'd love to share. So, one of the things when I was asked to speak with you with the World Leaders Foundation, I think as members of the World Leaders Foundation, you've realized that you're not just individuals; you're multipliers of change. So, as bringing together these global communities, each of you has your own networks, has your own influence, has your ability to turn individual actions into a global movement, like some of the examples that I've given you. So I'd love to give you a challenge. So I'd choose one habit, I'd choose one thing that you could do, and not only do it yourself, but inspire others to join you and share it. Whether it's a local cleanup, implementing green practices in your workplace, walking instead of driving, everything that you can do can actually impact on greenhouse gas emissions, can impact on increasing biodiversity and improving nature. And the world, I like to say this to my children, the world doesn't need like a few perfect environmentalists. What our world needs are millions of people doing their best as inspirational catalyzers. And I think that's what the WLF can actually deliver. So together, through our everyday actions, we can restore our world and create that greener tomorrow. And the time to start is now on World Environment Day. And the power to change the world is really in your hands.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. I just had a one question. Uh, were you always from the very beginning when you were a child, you were inclined towards saving environment? What prompted you that one incident and you chose to work for the betterment of the environment of the world or the place you're living in? What prompted you? What was the turning point in your life?
Yeah, I mean, there were a few. Obviously, in anyone's life, there's turning points. But I was very lucky to be brought up in a rural part of England. So I was surrounded by dairy farms and moors and forests and waterfalls, and I was very lucky. I guess I didn't realize how lucky I was until I started moving to bigger cities, and then realizing that the upbringing that I had was very special. In probably the biggest turning point would be in 1999. I was lucky enough to go and study at MIT in Boston in America, a topic called systems thinking and system dynamics. And the group that I worked with there, they were the same team that had written a book called Limits to Growth, which was probably one of the very first sustainability books that had a global impact. It was really showing the issues that could happen on our planet as humanity increases in numbers and as humans continue to consume at rates that it's probably not sustainable for our planet and pollute the planet as well. So it really opened my eyes to how you can actually bring people together and to understand and inspire people and share stories, and also the interconnectedness of everything, the interconnectedness of industry, the interconnectedness of consumers, of voters, of people. So through that, I then tried to, when you learn something like that, you can't unlearn it. So what I've done since then is always tried to utilize the power of systems thinking to drive systems change. And if you want to try and push systems change, the best thing to do is to try and pick a really juicy topic. So yeah, the flourishing of humanity on the planet and the flourishing of nature on the planet, I do believe can happen together, and that's probably the biggest inspiration for me. And then, having children, you realize that it's not just your life; you're passing life on to the next generation. So for all future generations of humanity, I just knew that I had to do everything that I possibly could. So I love to do talks like this. I utilize climate action simulations. I teach at universities. I do my work through the companies that I work with, work on some global projects recently with the World Economic Forum, looking at a global steel decarbonization project. So yeah, I try and do everything that I can. And I tell others, yeah, if we could all just do one extra thing, that will make a difference.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you for being here and joining hands with us in our pursuit of saving environment. We've been talking about it and creating awareness in this regard. I'm so grateful. There are not many who talk about this. There are so many webinars on business and everything. Um, I'm very grateful that you're here.
You're very welcome.
So I think your unique perspective in combining business leadership with a deeply human-centered approach to environmental challenges give us much to reflect on. To summarize our takeaways, environmental actions, I'm doing it for the audience. The environmental action requires both systematic change and individual commitment. Small, consistent actions matter, and community initiatives can drive significant positive impact when properly supported and connected. This is how I summarize it. You're free to add any point which I may have missed in my summary.
I think your summary is fantastic. Maybe the only thing to remember as well is that everything is interconnected. So decisions that we make to buy products has an impact on nature. So choose wisely.
And of course, I encourage everyone attending today to consider one concrete action you can take in your daily life to contribute to resorting our earth. As Mr. Mark has shown us, integrating environmental values into everything we do creates a powerful foundation for positive changes. Thank you once again, Mr. Mark, for your
Okay.
contribution. Thank you to the World's Leaders Foundation for organizing this event and to all of you participating. Wishing everyone a very happy World Environment Day 2025. Together, we can create a greener, more sustainable tomorrow. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mark.
Thank you.